Where the hell you been at? What's going on in Hyrule? We got islands in the sky. What's going on? What is this? What does this mean? This is telling me nothing. What is that?
Yeah.
What is that? What is that?
Yeah.
You know what? You're useless. Give me the sword. I'll save Hyrule myself. Alright, let's jump right into this review. It's no secret that I absolutely hated Breath of the Wild. It was not one of my favorite games. I really hated the weapon system. I hated the endless grind to find all the shrines so that you can max out your health and stamina so that you actually have a chance against the bosses. I didn't really like the world, in my opinion. It just felt too empty for me. And it really was something that I did not enjoy, and I don't think it's a perfect game. A lot of people think it's the perfect game. I don't think it is. But in my honest opinion, Tears of the Kingdom is one of the greatest games I have ever played, and I put in almost 200 hours into my gameplay, and it has my vote for Game of the Year, and that's even comparing it to Spider-Man. And if you know anything about me, you know I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and Tears of the Kingdom has my vote. Okay, I don't really care about Starfield, but this game is so incredible, even though it's stuck on a weak console like the Switch. Let's just go into some of the things about the game and what made it more enjoyable for me than Breath of the Wild, because a lot of people compare the two, saying that they're basically the same game, just with the different additions in this game. But there's more to it for me, and one of the main things that this game did better is the story.
What? Oh dear.
Where am I?
We didn't mean to startle you. I'm sorry. It's okay. My name is Sonia.
And could we ask what your name is?
I am the daughter of King Rome of Hyrule, Zelda.
What an unexpected answer. We are the king and queen who founded Hyrule, after all. Or at least we were the last time I checked.
You two founded Hyrule? And you're the king?
My name is Rauru, King Rauru of Hyrule.
King Rauru? And Queen Sonia? But that must mean...
You have better cutscenes, in my opinion. The story is told much better. You get the cutscenes in a much more better way compared to the last game. And another good thing about this game for me is the boss battles. I did not like the design of some of the boss battles, but it was at least a very creative addition as compared to the last game having a different version of the Calamity Ganon that you had to battle for each of the boss fights. I really did not care for those at all, but the ones for this game, to me, it was creative. Each one was different. They had their own different attacks and weaknesses and different strategies to use. It was really cool.
Okay, let's go!
in terms of the map, yes, the map is primarily the same with some, different changes around Hyrule, but you also have the addition of the floating islands and the depths that are located underground. And one thing that's very incredible is the fact that you can dive from the Sky Islands all the way into the depths without any loading screen, no cutscene, or no interruptions. It's completely seamless from one point to the other. And that's incredible because, as I said, the Switch is a weak-ass console. So it's amazing that they put that in the game and it's all seamless. It's pretty dope. The depths does have some interesting secrets to find, but I didn't have too much fun enjoying the depths since you have to light your way across as you advance and go through the different light routes to make that area bright. It's just nothing that I really enjoyed too much, but that doesn't mean it's terrible. It is pretty interesting. There are some interesting treasures you can find. There are some rare weapons that you can find down there. And there are some story points that do take place in the depths. I won't spoil that here, but you do have some story missions located within there. And I couldn't remember all the returning characters from the last game because I haven't played Breath of the Wild in a few years now. But it is interesting to see some of these characters and what they are currently involved in. What are some of the things that they're doing in this game? And it's really funny to see the internet simp over Purah. Like, that's hilarious to me. Now, a couple more things I didn't really enjoy, mainly the 4 champions and the abilities. Mainly with how you use the abilities and the, I guess, characteristics of the champions. Raiju, I think her name was, is a complete badass. So she was the only one that I thought was really cool, and her ability was awesome.
Look, it's stirring up the sand trap. It must be responsible for all this. Come on, let's take it down together.
Oh!
But the other 3 champions can just go fuck themselves. And my problem with the abilities here is, number 1, what the abilities were compared to the previous game, and number 2, how you access those abilities. In the last game, one ability such as Rivali's Gale, which is far better in my opinion than the one we get here, you just have to hold down the jump button and you would just launch straight up. In here, while you're gliding, you can press A to have that spirit push you forward, but you don't really get a huge distance with the wind, and it kind of seems a bit pointless to me. It's also a pain in the ass that you have to approach the spirit of the champion to use the ability, and it's, number 1, a problem when you're in combat because you're trying to approach someone like Raiju's spirit to use the really cool thunder ability, but she's off running away from you to go fight. And it wouldn't be a problem if the spirits were good at fighting, but they're not. They mostly suck. They mostly just stand there while I'm getting my ass kicked. And you also have, like, the wind ability would activate when you don't want it to. One moment in particular is when you're trying to pick up items on the ground and the bird spirit is right next to you, and you press A to activate it by accident, and then he just blows your items away. And it was really annoying. And as I said, the spirits aren't good at fighting at all. I'd rather just play without them fighting by my side. But I do like the Goron's ability, where you can turn them into like a fireball and shoot them at enemies. That's pretty cool. And another power that I do miss from the last game is Mifa's Grace. When you die, you get resurrected, and I think you could use it like 3 times in the last game if I remember correctly. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but it's at least something that I miss because you will die in this game, and you want that instant revive that you can only get from the fairies. But at least that game had more chances to revive that you can stack on top of each other. Now, in terms of what Link's powers are, I do miss some from the last game, like the ice power, so you can, cross water a bit easier. And I do miss the bomb ability because you have to use bomb arrows that you have to find, or bomb flowers that you need to find in this game. But his recall and ascend powers are pretty cool. Reversing time to send an item back to an enemy and hit them with it, or going through a ceiling or something just to get to a higher point a lot easier. Those are pretty cool. Fuse is a very interesting power, considering there's a lot of amazing creations you can make, and I guess the Zelda community are making some incredible creations, and you can use the auto build ability to summon those things instantly as long as you have the resources to do so. But with every give, there's also a take, because with the ability to fuse items together and make some really cool vehicles, of course, there is a durability limit, and after you use that vehicle for a certain period of time, it will start flashing and then it'll break. So if you're flying in the air and your, gliding machine breaks, you're falling down until you, hang glide again. And it kind of sucks. I understand not trying to be overpowered to fly across the entire map, but come on, you do it for the weapon system. You have to do it for this system as well. It's something I really didn't enjoy. Speaking of the weapon system, yes, I do not like the weapon system, the way everything breaks. And this game, it felt like weapons broke a lot quicker than the last game. Not to mention, majority of the weapons you will find are rusted, so they do have a lot weaker durability. And I don't need anyone to defend the weapon system to me. I don't need to get into another debate about why it's good and why it's bad. I think one good mechanic would be like The Witcher 3, where your weapons will degrade and therefore do a lot less damage, and you can then repair those weapons to get back the damage that it had. Because you're going to have those weapons that you love and your favorite weapons, but they're going to break, and that's a problem. So one thing I forgot to mention in my review is that while there is a lot, and I mean a lot, of shrines to find, it felt like the challenge wasn't really there compared to the last game. I will admit the last game had some pretty challenging shrines, challenging puzzles. This one didn't really have that for me, and it felt like they were maybe running out of ideas, especially when a majority of the shrines, or rather a good number of shrines, had the same premise. They take away all your equipment and they have you fight the Zonai enemies with the equipment they give you. Some are a bit harder than others, but there were so many of those kinds of shrines that to me felt like maybe they ran out of ideas. And like I said, it wasn't as challenging as the previous game, but there is a lot of it, so you will be pretty busy with this game. In terms of the villains and the enemies in the game, most of it are the same. The lizards, the goblins, the rock talos, whatever they call those, the giant cyclops things, mostly the same. One addition is the gloom hands, which are a pain in the ass to deal with, but is rewarding to a point, because you do get some really strong weapons when you defeat the gloom hands and then the phantom ganon that summons. And you can get like a really cool gloom sword, or the bow and arrow, or a staff. But as I said earlier, with every give there's a take, and you do have the gloom damage, which will decrease the number of hearts you have until you go back into the sunlight and replenish those hearts. There is a gloom armor that does reduce the I guess the weakness to the gloom. It does. I think it takes a bit longer for the gloom to reduce your hearts. I don't have the armor. I instead went with the very badass evil spirit armor. Now, with the main villain Ganondorf, I did find that the final boss of Breath of the Wild was very interesting. Like I liked what they did with the final fight, and it was amazing how I went all those years without that fight being spoiled for me on YouTube. But this is a much better end game, a much better boss fight, because you do have the actual Ganondorf, and he's a badass. And he almost got me a bit worried a couple of times where I wasn't gonna win. And of course, the final fight is so badass. I won't spoil what it is, but it's a lot of major story elements that connect to this final fight, and it primarily focuses around getting the Master Sword. So you don't want to do the fight without the Master Sword. I don't even know what would happen if you tried to approach the fight without the Master Sword, because there's a really cool scene with the Master Sword. I won't spoil it here. I kind of spoiled it on my YouTube shorts, so if you want to see a bit of that, look at my YouTube shorts, but I won't put it here. Now, overall, I believe that this game was phenomenal. And if you can get past the long grind that it's going to be to max out your health and stamina and the stupid weapon system, you're going to have a very long but enjoyable adventure with some really badass anime moments, some interesting characters, an amazing world to explore. I realized recently how massive this world is for a Switch game. It's freaking incredible how massive this world is. And to have a main world and an underground world on top of the Sky Islands as well, they really put in everything into this game. And I gotta say, it is worth your money. Even if it does cost $70 for a Switch game, it is worth your money. I only paid $20 because GameStop had a promotion before the game came out where you trade in 2 games to get $50 towards Tears of the Kingdom, and it was 2 games off a list of specific games. And I traded in Last of Us Part 2 and my PS4 copy of Last of Us 1, since I already have the PS5 version of it. So I didn't really lose anything on it, and I paid only like $20 plus the tax and the pre-order, like $25 or so for this game. But it is worth the $70, I gotta admit it. And I do hate the fact that it's stuck on Switch and not on a much more powerful console, but you don't see a lot of frame rate issues, not too many, not too much stuttering. It is a mostly smooth performance overall, and I don't know if they're going to do DLC. It'll be cool if they do add some DLC. I don't know what they would do differently or what they can add for the DLC. Maybe a bit more into the ancient hero from the previous time, because there is a past time that takes place with the first king of Hyrule, and there is apparently a hero from back then that's like a green beast furry thing. There's really no mention of him at all throughout the game other than an armor you can unlock, but maybe they'll do something with that. But like I said, that is my review. It is worth your money. There's a lot more that I could talk about with this game, but if you haven't tried this game yet and you are a Nintendo owner, even if you're not a Zelda fan, I am in no way, shape, or form a Zelda fan or anything, but this game is worth your time if you have a Switch. I'm Anthony Olan, and I'll see you guys next time.